You came here expecting to hear a health lecture?
Koliko od vas došlo danas da čuje zdravstveno predavanje?
Nobody?
Niko?
Okay. You expect to hear a health lecture? So in other words, you do not want to hear a disease lecture.
Znači, ne želite da čujete predavanje o bolesti.
Because that's what most people think.
Jer većina ljudi misli o tome.
They're going to go to a health lecture
Dođu na zdravstveno predavanje
and hear about disease.
a onda slušaju o bolesti.
Does that make sense?
Da li je to neka vrsta logike?
Let me test your knowledge.
Ajmo da testiramo vaše znanje.
How many different types of diseases have been described by medical science?
Koliko vrsta bolesti u medicini je do sada objavljeno?
Now remember, cancer, there's 200 types of cancer.
Samo zapamtite, postoji preko 200 vrsta raka.
So how many different types of diseases have been described?
Znači, koliko tipova raznih vrsta bolesti je već opisano?
Yes.
Da li ima neku ideju?
How about 100,000?
Šta mislite o cifri od 100.000?
So which one should we start with?
Sa kojom ćemo da počnemo?
We don't have that much time.
Nemamo puno vremena.
Another question.
Još jedno pitanje.
How many types of perfect health are there?
Koliko vrsta savršenog zdravlja ima? Very little.
Okay.
Just one.
There's one.
Samo jedno.
One type of perfect health.
Jedan tip perfektno zdravlja.
So we got a choice.
Znači sad imamo izbor.
We can study 100,000 diseases.
Znači možemo da proučavamo ili da studiramo 100.000 bolesti.
Or we can study health.
Ili možemo da učimo zdravlje.
So this meeting is basically about studying health.
Znači ovo predavanje će biti o studiranju o dobrom zdravlju.
And we're going to look at the basic laws of health.
I govorit ćemo o osnovnim principima zdravlja.
I don't care what your disease is.
Mene ne interesuje kakva je vaša bolest.
If you follow the laws of health,
Ako se pridržavate zakona zdravlja,
you will receive benefit.
imat ćete benefit.
Now, but here's what's going to happen.
Ali evo šta će se desiti.
I'm going to talk about the basic fundamentals of health tonight.
Ja ću osnovne fundamentalne stvari da govorim danas.
And this is what always happens.
I ovo što se obično dešava.
After the meeting,
Lekovima.
I work with natural things.
Ja radim sa prirodnim stvarima.
So people understand this.
I ljudi razumeju to.
So they know I'm not going to recommend a drug.
I oni znaju da im ja neću preporučiti lek.
So they're asked for what herb can I take.
I onda me pitaju kakvu biljku ću da ti preporučim.
But it's never that easy.
Ali nikad nije tako jednostavno.
Now, how many of you have ever put together a puzzle?
Da li ste nekada slagali one puzle?
Anyone ever put together a puzzle?
Neko slagao nekada puzlu?
Okay. It's okay to raise your hand.
U redu, ako dignete ruku.
Well, you know, what happens if one piece is missing?
Šta se dešava ako jedna puzla nedostaje?
How do you feel about that?
Kako se osjećate?
You look everywhere for that one piece.
Svugde traži se da tu jednu puzlu.
Because without that one piece,
Jer bez te jedne puzle,
the puzzle's not done.
Cijela puzla nije završena.
Same way with health.
Ista stvar i sa zdravljem.
There's many pieces to the health puzzle.
Postoje više mesta u tim zdravstvenim puzlama.
We've got to look for all of them.
Moramo da tražimo sve njih.
Now, how many of you ever get headaches?
Koliko od vas dobije glavobolje?
I'm asking easy questions.
Znači ja pitam jednostavna pitanja.
Why you get headaches? What do most people do for headaches?
Šta većina ljudi radi za glavobolju?
Aspirin. Very good.
Jako dobro, aspirin.
Now let me ask you a question.
Evo da vas pitam još jedno pitanje.
Is a headache caused by not enough aspirin in your system?
Da li je uzročnik glavobolje nedostatak aspirina?
Ne. No, it's not. So maybe we should try to find what's causing the headache.
Ajmo možda da pronađemo šta je uzrok glavobolje.
You know, Americans take a lot of drugs.
Amerikanci uzimaju dosta tableta.
We had a patient come to Uchee Pines one time,
Mi smo jedan put u Uchee Pinesu imali pacijenta koji je došao,
taking 32 medications a day.
koji je uzimao 32 tablete na dan.
And that's not uncommon.
I to nije slučajnost.
They will come with a suitcase just for their medications.
Oni bi nekada došli sa koferom koji je samo su lekovi njima.
When she arrived at Uchee Pines,
Kada je ona došla u Uchee Pines,
she walked like this.
ona je ovako hodala.
Everything hurt.
Sve ju je bolelo.
She was a mess.
Ona je bila u nekom haosu.
And she had a long list of problems,
Imala je veliku listu problema.
equally as long as her list of drugs.
Jednako istu kao i njena lista za lekove.
So I took a list of her problems,
Ja sam uzeo listu njenih problema
a list of her drugs,
i listu njenih lekova.
and I made a chart.
I napravio sam joj
Just look at it. One of these. I made a chart.
ovako nešto.
Okay? One problem, she had high blood pressure.
Jedan problem, imala je visok pritisak.
So what did the doctors do for her high blood pressure?
I šta su doktori radili za njen visok pritisak?
Gave her a drug.
Dali su je lek.
But I looked up that drug.
Ja sam pogledao taj lek.
We've got a book that tells all the side effects of every drug.
Mi imamo knjigu koja govori sve o nuspojavama svakog leka.
And I looked at its major side effects.
I pogledao sam glavne nuspojave.
And I found one of her problems.
I našao sam u tim nuspojavama jedan od njenih problema.
And of course, when she had that problem,
I kad je imala taj problem,
they gave her a drug for that problem.
dali su joj lek za taj problem.
Well, I looked up its major side effect,
Ja sam svaki taj njen nuspojavu pogledao
and it was one of her problems.
i bio jedan od problema.
You see what was happening?
Vidite šta se dešava.
Why was she taking most of her drugs?
Zašto je uzimala većinu njenih lekova?
Side effects of drugs.
Nuspojave od lekova.
Do drugs have side effects?
Da li lekovi imaju
Oh,
nuspojave?
yes. So I'm not going to ask you if any of you take drugs.
Neću vas pitam da li vi uzimate lekove.
I know some of you do.
Znam da neki od vas da.
When you go home,
Ali kad idete kući,
get that piece of paper that comes with your drug
uzmite taj dugačak parče papira koji dolazi sa lekom
and read down the adverse side effects,
i gledajte sve nuspojave.
the warning.
Upozorenje.
They all have it.
Oni svi imaju to.
So she was taking most of her medications for side effects from her medications.
Ona je većinu lekova uzimala zbog nuspojava koje ima.
So in one day,
Znači jednoga dana
she went from 32 medications
otišla sa 32 leka
to 4 medications.
na 4 leka.
You can't stop every medication.
Ne možete da zaustavite sve lekove.
She stayed with us for 3 weeks.
Ostala je sa nama 3 nedelje.
We employed all the other techniques of healing.
Mi smo zaposlili razne vrste metoda lečenja.
And I'll mention these.
I ja ću napomenuti neke od njih.
When she left our place,
Kad je napustila naše mesto,
she was walking 10 kilometers a day
ona je hodala 10 km na dan
with no problems.
bez problema.
Now that's not just a problem in America though.
Znači ovo nije samo problem u Americi.
This mindset that you got to take a drug for every problem.
Znači u umu je problem jer oni smatruju da za svaki problem ima lek.
I was working in the country of India.
Ja sam radio u zemlji kao što je Indija.
That's back when I had a beard. And I'd do a clinic there.
Imao sam jednu kliniku
And the people would come to me.
i ljudi bi došli kod mene
They'd tell me their problems.
i govorili mi njihove probleme.
And I say, well, why don't you do this, and this, and this?
Zašto ne radiš to i to?
Simple things.
Jednostavne stvari.
Things they could do in their area.
Stvari koje mogu da rade u njihovom okruženju.
Foods they could eat.
Hranu koju mogu da jedu.
Herbs they could take.
Biljke koje mogu da uzmu.
And the Indians would just smile.
I onda bi se tamo nasmešili.
Have any of you been to India?
Je li neko od vas bio u Indiji?
When you go to India,
Kad idete u Indiju,
when they say yes,
kada kažu da,
we go like this, right?
mi klimnu glavom tako.
That's not what they do.
Oni to ne rade.
They do this.
Oni ovo rade.
They get the big smile,
Oni se nasmeju
stick out their hand,
i pruže ruku,
and say tablets.
tableta.
I said, I didn't say tablets.
Ja kažem, nisam rekao tableta.
I says, do this, do these simple things.
Uradi to i te jednostavne stvari.
Tablets.
Tableta.
So I had to go into town.
Ja sam morao da odem jedan put u grad
buy some vitamins,
i kupio sam neke vitamine.
some vitamin C,
Vitamin C,
B, whatever I could find, the cheapest things I could find.
najjeftinije neke koje sam mogao da nađem.
I cut them into strips,
I isekao sam ih u ovakvu linije,
tape them together,
zalepio sam ih zajedno,
put them under my table.
stavio sam ih ispod moga stola.
Then they would come to me,
Onda bi oni došli kod mene,
tell me their problem.
rekli mi problem,
I'd tell them some things that they could do,
ja im kažem neke stvari koje moraju da urade
and then I'd pull out a long strip of tablets.
i onda izvadim te tablete koje sam kupio.
And I say, take one of these every day with 8 glasses of water.
I kažem, uzmite ovu tabletu jednu na dan sa 8 čaša vode.
And of course, they're going to do it.
I naravno da će to uraditi.
And they're going to get better.
I bit će im bolje.
Because of these 5 things.
Zato zbog tih 5 stvari.
Not because of the vitamin C tablet.
Ne zbog vitamin C tablete.
Okay, let's get down to the basic foundational principle of health.
Ajmo da idemo na osnovne temelje zdravlja.
If I give a test, this will be the first question.
Ako vam dam test, ovo će biti prvo pitanje.
Okay? And it's easy to remember.
I jako jednostavno zapamtiti.
I'm going to tell you a story.
Reći ću vam priču.
It's about a man who had a very sore foot.
Priča je o čoveku koji je imao u nozi imao problem, bola ga noga.
So he goes to a doctor.
I otišao kod doktora.
He said, "Doctor, my foot hurts."
Doktore, noga me boli.
He says, "Not a problem."
Nema nikakvih problema.
He said, "I'll just give you a shot of painkiller."
Daću ti neku injekciju protiv bola.
Guy didn't like this idea.
Njemu se ne baš ispila ta ideja.
Goes to a second doctor.
Ode kod drugoga doktora.
He said, "Doctor, my foot hurts."
Doktore, moje stopalo boli.
Not a problem.
Nema nikakvih problema.
Take one of these painkillers.
Uzmi ove tablete protiv bolova.
Didn't like that idea.
Nije mu se svidjela ni ta ideja.
Goes to the third doctor.
Ode kod trećeg doktora.
"Doctor, my foot hurts."
Doktore, noga me boli.
Not a problem.
Nema nikakvih problema.
Gave him a cane.
Da mu je štap.
Said when you walk, just lean on the cane, it won't hurt so much.
Kaže, kada hodaš, samo se osloni na štap i nećete puno boleti.
Didn't like that idea.
Nije mu se svidjela ni ta ideja.
Goes to a fourth doctor.
Ode kod četvrtog doktora.
He said, "Doctor, my foot hurts."
Doktore, noga me boli.
He says, "Not a problem.
Nema nikakvih problema.
We'll just cut your foot off."
Osjećat ćemo ti nogu.
Well, the guy, his foot felt great.
I njegova noga se osjećala okej.
And he ran down the
I potrčao je kroz hodnik.
But halfway down the street,
Ali na pola puta od te ulice,
he realized it still hurt.
shvatio da ga noga i dalje boli.
So he goes to a fifth doctor.
Otišao kod petog doktora.
He says, "Doctor, my foot hurts."
Kaže, doktore, mene noga boli.
Doctor says, "Why don't we take off your shoe?"
Ajmo da skinemo tvoju cipelu.
They take off the shoe,
Skinuli su njegovu cipelu.
and in the bottom of the shoe,
I na dnu cipele
there's a large stone.
bio je veliki kamen.
So what should we do?
I šta bi mi trebali da radimo? Take out the
Just take the stone out.
I svati kamen.
As simple as that.
Jednostavno.
That's the basic principle of health.
To je osnovan princip zdravlja.
So what is it?
Šta je? Šta je to?
It is reason from cause to
Sagledavanje
effect.
od uzroka do posljedice.
Let me give you a personal example.
Evo daću jedan ličan primjer.
I was doing some meetings in Ukraine.
Imao sam neke mitinge u Ukrajini.
Right, I flew from Atlanta, Georgia to Kiev.
Letao sam iz Atlante u Kijev.
I lost 7 hours.
Izgubio sam 7 sati.
If you lose just 2 hours of sleep,
Ako izgubite 2 sata sna,
your immune system is cut in half.
vaš imunni sistem je prepolovljen.
So I lost 7 hours.
A ja sam izgubio 7.
And the first weekend I am there,
I prvog vikenda sam je bio tamo.
I'm invited to a lady's house for lunch.
Ja sam bio pozvan na ručak kod jedne osobe.
Now I'm a total vegetarian.
Ja sam totalni vegetarijanac.
I told her that.
Ja sam joj to rekao.
It was a great total vegetarian lunch.
I bio je kompletno vegetarijanski ručak.
When the meal was over,
Kada je večera bila završena,
she cleared the table
počistila je stol
and then brought a large plate of cookies.
i donela je veliku tacnu sa kolačima.
I love cookies.
Ja volim kolače.
Now these were not healthy cookies.
Znači, ovo nisu bili zdravi kolači.
These were sugar, white flour, and fat cookies.
Ovo su bili kolači koji su imali šećera i belo brašno i masni su bili.
But she had spent money for these things.
Ali ona je puno novca uložila u to.
I had to be polite.
Trebao sam da budem pristojan,
So I said,
ljubazan.
I'll eat just one to be polite.
Kaže, da budem ljubazan, ja ću pojesti samo jedan.
So good.
Bilo je jako dobro.
I'll be doubly polite.
Ja ću biti duplo ljubazan.
I'll be triply polite.
Ja ću biti trostruko ljubazan.
Quadruple,
Četvorostruko,
quintuple.
petorostruko.
I ate a bunch of cookies,
Ja sam pojeo dosta kolača
and I was sick for 1 week.
i bio sam bolestan cijelu nedelju.
Now, what was my problem?
Koji je bio moj problem?
Not enough aspirin,
Nisam imao dovoljno aspirina,
not enough antibiotics.
nisam imao dovoljno antibiotika.
No, too many cookies,
Ne, previše kolača,
too much sugar.
previše šećera.
Now, 6 months later,
6 mjeseci kasnije,
I was back in the same city,
vratio sam se u isti grad.
doing 2 series of meetings a day.
Radio sam dve serije predavanja na dan.
And I did not want to get sick.
I nisam želeo da budem bolestan.
I stayed away from the sugar,
Nisam se približavao šećeru,
but I was staying with a family of 4 people,
ali sam ostao sa porodicom da je bilo 4 ljudi.
and one was always sick,
I jedna osoba je bila stalno bolesna.
and I did not want to get sick.
Ja nisam želeo da budem bolestan.
So every morning with my breakfast,
I svako jutro sa mojim doručkom
I ate garlic.
jeo sam beli luk.
How much bay look?
Koliko belog luka?
Not 1 clove,
Ne jednu vezu,
not 2 cloves,
ne dve,
not 3 cloves,
ne tri.
the whole bulb.
Ne jedan čen, 2, 3, nego celu vezu.
Every morning,
Svako jutro.
raw garlic.
Sirov beli luk.
About 15 or 16 cloves.
15 do 16 čena.
And I didn't get sick.
Nisam se razbolao.
Now, there's a few reasons for that.
Postoji par razloga za to.
Garlic is a natural antibiotic.
Beli luk je prirodan antibiotik.
But 2,
Broj 2.
no one is going to get near you.
Niko vas se približiti vama neće.
Yeah, all the sick people stand on the other side of the room.
Svi bolesni su bili na drugom kraju sobe.
So basically, reason from cause to effect.
Da rezonujemo od uzroka do posljedice.
All right? Second, there's 2 main laws on top of the foundation.
Postoje dva glavna principa na temelju.
The first one,
Prvi je,
very simple. The life is in the
život
blood.
je u krvi.
Okay? Now, where do you get your blood from?
Odakle vi dobivate vašu krv?
The Red Cross?
Crveni krst?
Where's your blood come from?
Odakle vaša krv dolazi?
It comes from the food that you eat.
Dolazi iz hrane koju jedete.
Basically, what you put into your body
Ono što stavljamo u naše tela
is going to determine your health.
će da bude vaše zdravlje.
You eat healthy food,
Ako jedete zdravu hranu,
you're going to have healthy blood.
imat ćete zdravu krv.
You eat junk food,
Jedete smeće od hrane,
what kind of blood you're going to have?
kako ćete imati krv?
Junk blood.
Lošu.
Yeah, bullshit. And if you got that kind of blood, you're not going to be healthy.
I ako imate takvu krv, nećete biti zdravi.
Okay? The second basic law,
Drugi princip,
you can have the best blood in the world.
možete imate najbolju krv na svetu.
But if you don't have the second law,
Ali ako nemate drugi zakon,
does you no good.
ne vrše nikakvu svrhu.
Perfect health requires perfect circulation.
Savršeno zdravlje zahteva savršenu cirkulaciju.
Do people have circulation problems?
Da li ljudi imaju problema sa cirkulacijom?
Atherosclerosis?
Aterosklerozu,
Diabetes?
dijabetes?
These things impair your circulation.
Oni ugrožavaju vašu cirkulaciju.
So, life is in the blood,
Život je u krvi,
what you put into your body.
ono što stavljate u vaše telo.
Perfect health requires perfect circulation.
Savršeno zdravlje zahteva savršenu cirkulaciju.
What you do with your body.
Ono što radite sa našim telom
It's so important
je jako važno
that we move this body.
da bi pokrenuli ovo telo.
And it doesn't matter how you move it.
I nije bitno kako ga pokrećemo.
Taking a walk,
Šetite se,
cutting the grass,
secite travu,
planting, working in your garden, however you do it.
radite u vrtu, kako god.
Move your body.
Morate da se krećete.
Your health depends upon it.
Vaše zdravlje zavisi od toga.
But there's a third basic law.
Ali postoji i treći osnovni zakon.
And to me, this is as important, if not more important, than the other two.
Ovo je možda važnije nego ova prva dva.
What is it?
Šta je to?
What your attitude is about life.
naš celokupni stav o životu.
Now, does this look like a happy lady?
Da li ova gospođa izgleda sretna?
She's, as long as I've known her, she's been a happy lady.
Od kad ja nju znam, ona je bila uvek sretna.
Now, she's got a can of peanuts in her hand.
Ona ima konzervu kikirikija.
This was her 85th birthday.
Ovo je njen 85. rođendan bio.
It's my mother.
Ona je moja majka.
She's always happy.
Ona je uvek sretna.
This Sabbath, she turns 93.
Ove subote ona će biti 93.
Still happy.
I dalje je sretna.
Because, and that's why she's living so long, I
I
believe.
zato ja verujem da je toliko dugo i živa.
My father was never happy.
Moj otac nikad nije bio sretan.
He died an old man
On je umro kao star čovjek.
at 57.
Bio je 57 godina.
He was never happy. Your attitude will determine your lifespan.
Kako razmišljate, vaš pogled na sve će uticati na vaš život.
Okay, what is disease?
Šta je bolest?
You have a definition for disease?
Imate neku definiciju bolesti?
You might, but let me show you the perfect definition of a disease.
Evo, pogledat ćemo perfektnu definiciju bolesti.
It's an effort of nature
Bolest je pokušaj tela
to free itself from conditions that result in a violation of laws of health.
organizam od posljedice koje su rezultat kršenja zakona zdravlja.
You do the wrong thing,
Ako radite loše stvari,
you will get sick.
bit ćete bolesni.
Right? We talk about 100,000 diseases.
Govorili smo o 100.000 bolesti.
What is the best cure for any disease?
Koji je najbolji lek za bilo koju bolest?
It's very simple.
Jako jednostavno.
Practice the prevention.
Praktikujte prevenciju.
Do what you should have done in the first place.
Radite ono što ste trebali da radite na prvom mjestu.
And that will reverse most diseases.
I to će da
It'll
zaustavi druge bolesti.
turn your diseases around. Okay? So, this is what disease is.
Ovo je bolest.
Now, here's what we got to do.
Evo ovo što trebamo da uradimo.
First, we got to determine
Prvi korak,
why am I sick?
trebamo pronaći uzrok.
Okay? I got sick because of eating cookies.
Ja sam se razboleo jer sam jeo kolače.
You know, there are some people working on Alberto's house,
Tu su bili neki ljudi koji su radili na mojoj kući.
and two of them smoke heavily.
I dvoje od njih dosta puše.
You get that rummy cough.
Puše, taj kašelj.
It's a terrible sound.
I zvuči očajno.
Do they need a cough drop?
Da li im je potrebna neki lek protiv kašlja?
Do they need a shot of antibiotics?
Da li im je potrebna neki antibiotik?
Is that what they need to do?
Jel to treba da urade?
What do they need to do?
Šta oni treba da urade?
Stomp that cigarette out and never smoke it again.
Da zaustave, da ne prestanu da puše.
So you find out what's causing my problem.
Moramo da nađemo šta uzrokuje naš problem.
The second step,
Drugi korak,
you take all your bad habits
nezdrave uslove bi trebalo promeniti
and replace them with good habits.
i zameniti ih sa dobrim.
Is that easy enough to do?
Da li je to jednostavno?
Can you do these things?
A možete vi to da uradite?
Every one of you are doctors.
Svako od vas je doktor.
You are your own doctor.
Svako od vas je doktor.
Your health is your responsibility.
Vaše zdravlje je vaša odgovornost.
All right? Third step.
Treći korak.
All right? Then we assist nature in restoring right conditions.
Priroda ima sva sredstva da uravnoteži naš sistem.
All right? You drinking the wrong things?
Ako pijete loše stvari,
Start drinking the right things.
pijte prave stvari.
You eating the wrong things?
Jedete loše stvari,
Start eating the right things.
jedete prave stvari.
You just sitting around all day?
Sedite po ceo dan,
Get yourself some good walking shoes.
uzmite si dobar par cipala.
If we stop the meeting right here,
Ako zaustavimo naš miting večeras ovdje,
and that's all I told you,
i ovo je sve što sam vam rekao,
and you went home and you did these is irritating your sinus
Nešto
passages.
iritira vaše sinuse.
And the body's trying to get rid of it.
I organizam pokušava da to izbaci.
So we assist the body in doing this.
Znači mi asistiramo telo ka tome.
Temperature.
Temperatura.
Is a temperature a disease?
Da li je temperatura bolest?
No, it's not a disease.
Nije bolest.
It's the body's reaction to a disease.
To je reakcija organizma na bolest.
When your temperature goes up,
Kada vaša se temperatura podigne,
your immune system goes up.
vaš imun sistem se podigne.
And it works faster.
I radi brže.
Praise God for fevers.
Slava Bogu za temperaturu.
They are not a disease.
One nisu bolest.
How about sore throats?
Upala grla.
Right? So we got some inflammation there.
Imamo neku upalu u grlu.
It calls the immune system to be there.
I traži imun sistem da bude tamo.
And it gets warmer there.
I bude toplije tu.
That's what the body's doing to get you well.
I to telo radi da vam pomogne da se osjećate bolje.
How about pain?
Kako na primjer bol.
Is pain a disease?
Da li je bol bolest?
No, it's a symptom of a
To je
disease.
simptom bolesti.
Is pain good or is pain bad?
Da li je bol loš ili dobar?
How many think pain is good?
Koliko od vas mislite da je bol dobar?
How many think pain is bad?
Šta mislite da je bol loša stvar?
Pain is good.
Dobro?
There are diseases that take away your pain.
Postoje bolesti koje vam osnove bol.
Like leprosy,
Kao guba,
diabetes.
dijabetes.
These people would love to feel pain again.
Ovi ljudi bi volili da osjete bol ponovo.
What is pain?
Šta je bol?
It's a signal.
To je signal.
Tissue is being damaged.
Tkivo se uništava.
And when you feel the pain,
I kada osjetite bol,
you make adjustments so you don't make it worse.
pravite korekcije da ne bude još gore.
I mean, let me give you an example of this.
Evo daću im još jedan primjer.
There was an American pro basketball team,
Bio je američki profesionalni košarkaški tim.
and they had a really good player.
Imali su jako dobrog igrača.
But he injured his ankle.
Ali je povredio svoj zglob,
He couldn't play.
nije mogao da igra.
It came to the last big game.
I došli su do zadnje velike utakmice.
They needed him really bad.
I bio im je jako potrebno.
So the trainers gave him 3 shots of painkiller in his ankle.
I treneri su mu dali 3 injekcije protiv bola.
He could no longer feel it.
I on nije mogao da osjeti bol.
And he was out there playing.
I bio je tamo igrao je.
And at one point he jumped up to get a rebound.
I u jednom trenutku je skočio da uhvati loptu.
He came down
I došao dole.
and his ankle turned under him.
I zglob se preokrenuo ispod njega.
You could hear the crack all over the stadium.
I kaže, vi ste mogli da čujete kako se tu lomljavu kroz ceo taj stadion.
But he couldn't feel it.
Ali on nije mogao da osjeti.
He runs to the other end of the floor.
Trči na drugu stranu terena.
He runs back to the other end of the
I
floor.
ode trči na drugu stranu terena.
And then he collapses.
I onda je kolabirao.
The foot was useless.
Stopalo je bilo beskorisno.
He never played basketball again
I od tada nikada više nije igrao košarku.
because he did not listen to his pain.
Zato što nije slušao svoj bol.
Coughing,
Kašalj.
is that a disease?
Da li je to bolest?
No, there's something in the lungs.
Postoji nešto u plućima.
The body's trying to get rid of this stuff.
Telo pokuša da to izbaci.
It's part of God's system he gave us.
To je deo Božjeg sistema koji nam je Gospod dao.
So what do?
Šta mi radimo?
We take a drug that paralyzes the ability to cough.
Mi uzmemo lek koji će da parališe kašalj.
Another drug that paralyzes the brain so your temperature can't go up.
Još jedan lek koji će da paralizuje mozak da vaša temperatura ne ide gore.
And we just get sick.
I onda budemo još bolesniji.
Now, all of us know when we're getting sick.
Svi mi znamo kada dolazi bolest.
Let's talk about influenza or the common cold.
Gripa ili prehlada.
Right? You're going to have a symptom.
Imaćete neki simptom.
For me, it's a sore throat.
Za mene je upala grla.
When I feel that sore throat,
Kad osjetim tu upalu grla,
I know I'm going to be sick tomorrow.
ja znam da ću biti sutra bolestan.
But that doesn't mean I have to be sick.
Ali to ne znači da treba da budem bolestan.
As soon as you feel your signal,
Čim osjetite da ćete biti bolestan,
and we're all different.
i mi smo svi različiti.
When you realize, uh-oh, I'm going to be sick tomorrow,
Kad vidim da ću biti bolestan sutra,
here's what you do.
ovo što treba da uradite.
Every 10 minutes,
Svakih 10 minuta,
for 1 hour,
u toku jednog sata,
you drink a glass of water.
uzmite, popijte čašu vode.
Okay? In between the glasses of water,
Između tih čaša vode,
you go outside,
izađite napolje,
you take 40 to 50 deep breaths of air,
uzmite 40 do 50 dubokih udaha.
and normally you will not get sick.
I normalno nećete biti bolesni.
You have rehydrated your body,
Rehidrirali ste vaše telo
you have flushed your body, your urinary system dumping all that water,
i mokraćni sistem izbacio svu tu vodu
and you have gotten more oxygen.
nije interesantno.
Now there's 3 main types of grip,
Postoje 3 glavna gripa,
A, B, and C.
A, B i C.
Now the ones that affect us
Oni koji nam utiču na nas
are the A's.
su A.
Okay? How many types of A's are there?
Koliko tipova A gripe postoje?
Now, are any of you medical people?
Da li ima neko ovdje ko je zdravstveni radnik?
Okay. There's a 2 letters we use in describing different types of grips.
Postoje 2 slova koje mu koristimo da bi objasnili gripu.
Now, don't worry about these big names.
Znači, ne brinite o ovim imenima.
These are antigens
Ovo su samo antigeni
that are on the coating of the virus.
koji su oko virusa.
Hemagglutinin
Hemoglutenin,
and neuraminidase.
neuraminidase.
Okay. Now, when you describe a grip,
A kada objašnjavate gripu,
they use those letters,
oni koriste ta slova.
like H1N1.
H1N1.
That means swine flu.
To znači svinjska gripa.
Right? Then there's H5N1.
Imamo H5N5.
That's bird flu.
To je ptičja gripa.
And then they have the variants. Whoops.
Imamo i razne varijante.
Okay. Now the variants, H3N2, H1N2.
H3N2.
Looking at this right here. Looking at this.
Ako gledat ćemo ova 4.
How many possibilities of different types of grip are there?
Koliko vrsta mogućnosti gripa postoji?
Very easy mathematical solution.
Matematički jako jednostavno.
We had an H5 and we had an N2.
Imamo H1 i N1.
That means there's 10 variations.
Postoji 10 varijanata.
Is that all the types of grip there can be?
Da li je samo to što postoji?
No. Back in the year 2013,
A da se vratimo u godinu 2013.
down in Peru,
U Peru
they found a fruit bat
našli su slepog miša, voćnog slepog miša,
that had H18 and 11.
koji je imao H18 N11.
Now, how many different possibilities are there for grip?
Znači koliko različitih drugih mogućnosti postoji to?
198.
198.
Now, in Serbia,
U Srbiji,
do they give you a flu shot every year?
da li vam daju vakcinu protiv gripe?
Which one's it for?
Za koji je to?
Because it only works, it's only made for one type of influenza.
Jer je napravljena samo za jednu vrstu gripe.
And frankly, it doesn't work anyway.
I u većini slučajeva ne radi nigde.
But they've got to choose which one's it going to be.
Ali oni moraju da izaberu koja će da bude.
And it's just a guess.
I ovo je samo jedan pogodak.
And rarely do they get the guess right.
I retko oni pogode kako treba.
Okay, back in the years 1347 to 1352.
Da se vratimo u godinu 1347 ili 1352.
Here in Europe,
Ovdje u Evropi
they had the bubonic plague, the Black Death.
imali su crnu smrt.
In the country of England,
U Engleskoj
in 1348,
u 1347. godini
they lost almost half of their people to this.
izgubili su polovinu naroda od toga.
25 million people in Europe.
25 miliona ljudi u Evropi.
That's a lot of people.
To je puno ljudi.
Right? Between 1915 and 1918,
Između 1915. i 1918.
you had World War I.
Imali smo Prvi svjetski rat.
37 million people
37
perished.
miliona ljudi je nestalo.
It ended in 1918.
I završilo se 1918.
But by the end of that month, November 1918,
Ali tog novembra 1918.
there was another disease.
Došla je
Another
nova
thing that
bolest.
was taking people's lives.
Nova gripa je došla.
So bad they were turning gymnasiums into hospitals.
Oni su pretvarali školske te terene u bolnice.
Killed almost 50 million people.
I ubilo je skoro 50 miliona ljudi.
And it only lasted for 1 year.
I samo je trebalo godinu dana.
Anyone know what that was?
Da li neko zna šta je to bilo?
The Spanish grip.
Španska groznica.
You ever heard of it?
Da li ste nekad čuli za to?
That's what they think it was anyway.
Oni u stvari misle da je to bilo.
And people were dying everywhere,
I ljudi su umirali svugde.
except for one place.
Ali samo ne na jednom mjestu.
This place right here.
Na ovom mjestu.
I bet none of you know what that is.
Da li neko zna šta je to?
It's a place called Battle Creek Sanitarium.
Ovo je sanatorijum koji se zove Battle Creek.
You ever heard of it?
Jeste neko čuo za to?
Yeah.
Okay. Who was their doctor?
Ko je bio njihov doktor?
Cornflakes?
Kellogg.
Okay. John Kellogg.
John Kellogg.
And he came up with a technique
I on je došao do jedne tehnike.
that nobody died.
Gde niko nije umro.
Would you like to know that technique?
Jel želite da znate tu tehniku?
Because it doesn't matter whether it's H1N1 or H18N11.
Znači nije bitno da li je N1, H1, N18, nema nikakve veze.
His treatment will work.
Njegova terapija funkcioniše, radi.
And every one of you can do it.
I svako od vas to može da uradi.
First thing he did,
Prvu stvar koju uradio,
he made sure his patients had large amounts of fiber in their diet.
prva stvar koju uradio, on je htio da bude siguran da svi njegovi pacijenti imaju puno vlakana u dijeti.
Where do you find fiber?
Gde nalazite vlakna?
You find fiber here.
Ovde nalazite vlakna.
Whole foods.
U celovitim žitaricama, u celovitoj hrani.
You find no fiber here.
Ovde nema vlakana.
Animals don't have fiber.
Životinje nemaju vlakna.
They eat fiber,
Oni jedu vlakna,
and if you want to get their fiber, they don't have any fiber.
oni u sebi nemaju vlakna.
What do we do with our fiber?
Šta mi radimo sa našim vlaknima?
You know, we eat white bread,
I mi jedemo beli hleb,
white rice,
beli pirinač,
white pasta.
belu pastu.
What happens to the fiber?
Šta se dešava sa vlaknima?
We feed it to the pigs.
Dajemo im svinjama,
We feed it to the cows.
dajemo im kravama.
Basically, they eat better than we do sometimes.
Oni na kraju jedu bolje nego mi.
So he increased the fiber.
Mi podignemo vlakna.
Second thing,
Druga stvar,
each patient got 2 enemas a day.
svaki pacijent je imao dva klistira na dan.
Cleaning out the colon.
Čišćenje debelog creva.
They would insert water until it ran out clear.
Oni su bili bolji dok nije počelo da izlazi čista voda.
Third thing,
Treća stvar,
they were drinking 4 liters of fluids a day.
pili su 4 litre tečnosti na dan.
We should be drinking at least 3 right now.
Mi bi sad bar trebali 3 litre da pijemo.
If you're not,
Ako ne
you're
radite to,
probably chronically dehydrated.
vi ste vjerojatno hronično dehidrirani.
Okay? One other thing he did,
Još jednu stvar je radio.
because when you get the grip,
Kada dobijete virus,
your back hurts, your muscles hurt.
vaš leđe vas bole, mišići vas bole.
So he gave them heating treatments.
Dao im je toplu kupku terapiju.
You can do it for the adults, you can do it for children.
Možete za odrasle, možete i za decu.
That's all he did.
To je sve što je uradio.
And he had no deaths at Battle Creek.
Niko nije umro u Battle Creeku.
Can you do this?
Da li možete to da uradite?
You can do it.
Možete.
Fiber,
Vlakna,
drinking your water.
piti vodu.
Now the enema, that's not so much fun. The enema is not.
Enema, klistiri, vjerojatno nisu jako interesantni.
But just drinking the water and the fiber will help you clean out your colon.
Ali ako samo pijete vodu i jedete vlakno, to bit će dovoljno da pročistite debelo crevo.
Okay, so basic laws of health here.
Znači, osnovni zakoni zdravlja.
We gotta eat good food.
Moramo da jedemo kvalitetnu hranu.
That's not optional. You gotta eat the good stuff.
To nije opcija.
You gotta get your exercise.
Morate budete fizički aktivni.
You've got to drink your water.
Morate da pijete vodu.
You gotta get your sunshine.
Morate budete ispunjeni sunčeve svetlosti.
Now those first 4 things,
Ali ove prve 4 stvari,
they're characteristics of certain people's occupation.
ove su karakteristike ljudi koji imaju jednu vrstu posla.
Let me tell you a story.
Ispričam vam priču.
A man named Thomas Parr.
Čovjek koji imenu Thomas Parr.
He lived a long time ago.
Živeo je jako davno.
He was born in 1483.
Rođen je 1483. godine.
Now back then people didn't live very long, did they?
Znači u to vreme ljudi nisu dugo živeli.
Did they?
Jel jesu dugo živeli?
Well, he died in 1635.
On je umro 1635.
He lived a long time.
Živeo je dosta dugo.
Why? What made him live long?
Šta je to što učinilo njega da dugo živi?
First of all,
Prva stvar,
he was a farmer.
bio je farmer
In the 1400s.
u 14. veku.
Did they get exercise?
Jel su oni bili fizički aktivni tada?
Oh, they get exercise. You think he ate a good, simple diet?
Da li mislite da je jeo jednostavnu hranu?
He was a farmer.
Bio je farmer.
Okay? You think he got plenty of sunshine?
Mislite da je bio dobro ispoljen suncu? Sunčevo svetlosti?
And you think he drank a lot of water?
Mislite da je pio dosta vode?
See, the first 4 laws,
To su prva 4 zakona.
he kept them religiously.
I religiozno se držao njih.
So, he was a farmer, worked hard.
I bio je farmer, dosta radio.
Something else that probably helped him live for a long time.
Vratno postoji još nešto što mu je pomoglo da dugo živi.
He got married for the first time
I prvi put se oženio
at the age of 80.
kad je imao 80 godina.
That means 80 stress-free years.
To znači 80 godina bez stresa.
Okay? Right? When he was 152 years old.
Kad je bio 152 godine,
Now this was in England.
znači ovo je, govorim u Engleskoj,
The land was owned by the princes.
zemlja je bila u vlasništvu princeva.
Well, one of the princes noticed this man.
Ali jedan princ je primetio toga čoveka,
And he lived in a big castle.
a on je živio u velikom dvorcu.
He says, you need to meet the king.
I on je rekao, ti moraš da upoznaš kralja.
The king was Charles I.
I kralj je bio Charles I.
So they went to London.
I otišli su u London.
He was introduced to the king.
I upoznao ga je sa kraljem.
They had a nice dinner.
Imali su lepu večeru.
And this Thomas Parr was smart.
I ovaj Thomas Parr je bio jako važan.
He told the best stories.
I je govorio dobre priče.
And the king loved the man.
I kralj je omilio taj čovjek.
He says, move into the palace.
Ajde dođi da živiš sa mnom u zamku.
You don't have to go back to work.
Ne moraš da ideš nazad na posao.
I'll take care of you for the rest of your life.
Ja ću se pobrinuti za tebe do kraja tvoga života.
So Thomas says, super.
I Thomas je rekao, super ide.
Moves into the palace.
I otišao je da živi u dvorac.
Sleeps in a great big bed.
I spavao u jednom velikom krevetu.
He has servants.
Imao je sluge.
Eats at the king's table.
I jeo je na kraljevom stolu.
Now for almost 153 years he'd eaten a simple farmer's food.
I znači 153 godine jeo jednostavnu farmersku hranu.
For 2 weeks he ate the king's food.
A 2 nedelje je jeo kraljevsku hranu.
And then he died.
I onda je umro.
And they said, what's wrong here?
I onda su rekli, šta se sve ovo
They
loše?
did an autopsy on his body.
I onda su radili autopsiju njegovog tela.
They looked at his digestive organs.
Pogledali su njegov digestivni trakt.
The organs of a young man.
Kažu organi mladoga čovjeka.
But they were all extremely inflamed.
Ali oni su bili puni inflamacije, upale.
The rich king's diet
I bogata kraljeva je ishrana.
did in 2 weeks
Uradila je ono za 2 nedelje.
what almost 153 years could not do.
Ono što 153 godine nisu mogli da urade.
It took his life.
I oduzelo mu je život.
So, sunshine is good.
Sunce je dobro.
Okay. Another law is we've got to have some self-control.
Moramo da imamo samokontrolu.
Yeah, which one are we going to eat?
Šta ćemo da jedemo?
Yeah. We need fresh air.
Treba nam svež vazduh.
That's another thing that this Thomas Parr got, plenty of fresh air.
Ono je još jedna stvar koju Thomas Parr dobio je svež vazduh.
And at the end of the day,
I na kraju dana
he was ready to rest.
bio je spreman za odmor.
But we all need to have our rest.
I nama je sve potreban odmor.
We need to have faith.
Moramo da imamo i veru.
There's so many studies done now on faith.
Postoji toliko istraživanja koje govore o veri.
And if we have something to believe in,
Ako imamo nešto u što ćemo da verujemo,
it has so many health benefits.
ima toliko zdravstvenih beneficija.
Herbs.
Biljke.
How many like to use herbs?
Koliko od vas voli da koristi biljke?
I love using herbs.
Ja volim da koristim
Let me
biljke.
give you three stories about herbs.
Evo, daću vam 3 priče o biljkama.
Okay? I like to work with wood.
Ja volim da radim sa drvetom.
There's a thing we call a table saw.
Postoji jedan cirkular.
It really is. It spins very fast.
Kaže, dosta brzo se okreće.
So I'm working in a wood shop one day.
Ja sam radio u drvodeljskom
Doing like this fella here.
i kao što ovaj mladić radi.
And I have an accident.
I imao sam nezgodu.
My fingers slip
I moj prst je skliznuo
and go into the saw blade.
i otišao je u cirkular.
And I cut my fingers off.
I isekao sam svoje prste.
Not like this.
Ne ovako.
This is good.
Ovo je stvari dobro.
I cut them off right down to the bones, 2 fingers.
Ovako sam ih do kosti sam ih, 2 prsta.
Right down to the bones.
Do kosti.
It was so bad.
Bilo je toliko loše.
When they took me to treatment,
Kad su me odveli na tretman,
they sent someone back to look for my fingers.
poslali su nekoga nazad da traži moje prste.
Right? Couldn't find them.
Nisu mogli da ih nađu.
They cleaned the wounds.
Očistili su ranu,
They wrapped them up. That's all they could do.
zamotali su ih,
But I had an herb.
ali imao sam biljku,
So do you.
a i vi isto imate.
Yeah. You've got this herb here.
Imate ovu biljku ovde, gavaz,
You're familiar with it?
jeste vam je poznata?
I had the leaf dried and powdered.
Ja sam imao taj list suv i upuljen.
Every night I'd mix some with water.
I svako večer bi ja to pomešao sa vodom.
I'd put it over my fingertips.
I stavio sam na vrhove prstiju.
I'd cut the fingers off with rubber gloves and put the rubber gloves over my fingertips.
Ja sam uzeo, osekao sam gumene rukavice i stavio sam ih u gumenu rukavicu i zatvorio na prst.
3 weeks after the accident,
3 nedelje posle nezgode,
I was playing the guitar again.
ja sam svirao gitaru ponovno.
And that's the hand that pushes the strings.
I to je ruka koja povlači žice.
There's no scars.
Nema ožiljaka.
Completely grew back.
Kompletno su porasle nazad.
Fingernails right down to the bone, gone.
Nokti do kosti.
3 weeks, it's back again.
Za 3 nedelje se vratilo nazad.
All right, 3 years ago,
Pre 3 godine
I have an accident.
imao sam nezgodu.
Sound like I'm accident prone, I know.
Izgleda kao da mene nezgode slede.
I'm riding my bicycle down a hill,
Vozio sam bicikl nizbrdo
and I have an accident.
i imao sam nezgodu.
Bad accident.
Jako lošu nezgodu.
I broke a few bones.
Slomio sam par kostiju,
I broke my right clavicle,
slomio sam klavikulu,
my first rib,
prvo rebro,
my second rib,
drugo rebro,
my fifth rib,
moje 5. rebro,
my seventh rib,
moje 7. rebro,
my ninth rib,
moje 9. rebro
and multiple fractures of my pelvis.
i višestruke frakture pelvisa.
I was a mess.
Bio sam u lako lošem stanju.
Have any of you ever broken a rib?
Je li neko od vas slomio rebro?
Is it fun?
Da li je to interesantno?
Is it painful?
Da li je bolno?
Very painful. You can't breathe.
Ne možete da dišete.
You can't sneeze.
Ne možete da kijate.
You don't want to cough.
Nećete da kašljete.
In 1 month,
U toku 1 meseca
my ribs were healed
moja rebra su se iscelala.
because they put comfrey on
Zato
my
su stavili
ribs.
gavez na moje rebra.
Okay? That's all they did.
To je jedno što su radili.
And if you can't find that herb,
Ako ne možete nađete ovu biljku,
there's this herb here.
postoji ova biljka.
It works just as well.
Ona isto tako dobro radi.
And this is great internally.
I ovo je dobro i da unosimo u naše telo.
You got gastritis?
Da li imate gastritis?
You got ulcers?
Da li imate čireve?
This is healing for the stomach.
Ovo može da isceli stomak.
Okay? So, put the comfrey on my ribs,
Stavio sam gavez na svoja rebra,
on a good diet.
sa dobrom dijetom, iskreno.
Remember, multiple fractures of the pelvis.
Višestruke frakture pelvis.
Now, ladies who've had babies.
Kralježnica.
Kar.
Karlica.
You ladies who've had babies,
Da li postoje osobe koje su imali bebe, žene?
I know what it feels like.
Znamo kakav je bol.
See, I had the accident on a Tuesday.
Imao sam nezgodu u utorak.
they did not discover the broken pelvis.
Oni nisu ustanovili da mi je karlica slomljena
And every time they moved me,
i svaki put kada su me pomerili,
they'd grab one leg and they'd pull it apart.
uhvatili bi jednu nogu i razdvojili od druge.
And I tell them, keep my legs together.
Ja sam im rekao, držite moje noge zajedno.
There's something wrong down here.
Postoji nešto loše dole.
A lot of pain.
Puno bola.
But 3 months after the accident,
Ali 3 mjeseca posle te nezgode,
I climbed this mountain.
popeo sam se na vrh ove planine.
Does anyone recognize that mountain?
Da li neko prepoznaje ovu planinu?
Mount Fuji,
Planina Fuji u
Japan.
Japanu.
And I climbed to the very top of it.
Ja sam se popeo na vrh te planine.
3 months after multiple fractures of the pelvis.
3 mjeseca posle višestruke frakture karlice.
Herbs,
Biljke
medicine.
su lekovi.
We had a patient at Uchee Pines.
Imali smo jednog pacijenta u Uchee Pinesu,
Overweight,
gojazan,
diabetic,
dijabetičan,
with a large diabetic ulcer.
sa velikim dijabetičnim čirom.
Does that look good?
Da li ovo izgleda dobro?
That looks bad.
Ovo izgleda jako loše.
And basically, if you have diabetes,
Ako imate dijabetes,
that does not get well.
ovo ne može da prođe.
Well, but she came to Uchee Pines.
Ali ona je došla u Uchee Pines.
We tried everything.
Sve smo probali.
This is one of our doctors. He's from Argentina.
Ovo je jedan doktor iz Argentine.
He's putting a very expensive herb
On
on the
stavlja
wound.
jednu biljku koja je jako skupa.
Didn't help.
Nije pomoglo.
But we finally found the solution.
Ali na kraju smo našli soluciju.
And I bet every one of you have the solution in your house.
Ja sam siguran kladim se da svako od vas ima tu soluciju kod kuće.
Matter of fact, I had some for lunch today.
U stvari ja sam imao tu soluciju danas za ručak.
Cabbage and onions.
Kupus i crnulu.
Now what do you do with it?
Šta radite sa tim?
You smash it up
Malo ga zgnječite
and you put it on the wound.
i stavljate ga na ranu.
And what happened?
Šta se dešava?
That's the result.
Ovo je rezultat.
Completely healed that ulcer.
Kompletno zaceljen čir.
The treatment of choice in the medical community?
Koji je izbor tretmana u bolnicama?
Cut the leg off.
Odsecimo nogu.
But there is a way to heal every disease.
Ali postoji način da se svaka bolest isceli.
There is a way to heal every wound.
Postoji mogućnost da se isceli svaka rana.
Okay, that's the introduction.
Ovo je samo upoznavanje.
Now, I don't know how long I'm supposed to be here,
Ja ne znam koliko dugo ja mogu da budem ovde.
but we're just going to start a little bit on heart disease.
Ja bih želeo malo da dotaknemo bolesti srca.
See, here's the reality.
Ovo je realnost.
Whatever I say about heart disease
Šta god ja kažem o bolestima srca,
applies to cancer,
vezano je sa rakom.
applies to diabetes,
Vezano je sa dijabetesom.
applies to osteoporosis,
Vezano je sa osteoporozom.
applies to gastritis,
Vezano je sa gastritisom.
because we're studying health,
Jer mi ovde studiramo o zdravlju,
not disease.
ne o bolesti.
So most diseases are lifestyle diseases.
Većina bolesti su bolesti životnog stila.
What's the